Today I'm going to be reviewing the Insotel Resort and Spa, which is in Cala Mandia. So that's located on the island of Majorca, and we are currently looking from the balcony of the room that we booked, which was a family suite that was located in the main block. And what you can see in the background is not the main pool, but one of the pools. You can see a little undercover area where one of the a la carte restaurant areas was, and the semicircle in the background was the main buffet restaurant. The hotel itself, so we flew from the UK in mid-October, and we enjoyed temperatures ranging between 26 and 29 degrees. Our holiday coincided with the German school holidays, which meant that the resort was fairly busy but not overcrowded, and it meant that although it was the end of the season, most of the facilities remained open. The flight time for us was about 2 hours 15 minutes, and the airport on the island is La Palma. Because the resort is effectively the opposite side of the island, the transfer time was an hour, but that was fairly easy, and you get to see a bit of the local countryside. In terms of check-in, the official check-in time for the hotel is 3 p.m, but obviously you've got people arriving at different points throughout the day. The hotel staff were actually really friendly as a whole, and quite accommodating. So when we arrived, we were effectively checked in, although not to our room. We were able to put our luggage in a luggage area and be given our wristbands to go and enjoy the facilities. So we were able to go and grab a bite to eat, by which point our room was ready. In terms of the room, I haven't captured a video because I actually a lot of this filming happened towards the end of the holiday and quite early in the morning, so that I wasn't poking my camera in people's faces. There was a slight hiccup in that there are 4 different sections to the hotel, and when you book in, you can specify which one you want. So the main building has the main pool, the buffet, and is what we're looking at now. Beneath us there are the swim up rooms, and we were in a suite above those. We actually ended up being put in a different block, which you see in a different video, which was a smaller pool where the main entertainment would normally have taken place. So it was quickly rectified, to be fair. We did get a note where they proactively recognised that they'd put us in the wrong room. When we went to reception, they did offer for someone to take our luggage to the new room, but we were eager to get settled in and actually did that ourselves. So there is quite a walk, so you can see here that the main building actually wraps around quite a long way, and we were right on the end, which actually worked out really well because we could walk down fairly easy to that pool and to the buffet restaurant itself. I will just address that actually, because as with most people, I look at videos and I look at comments before I'm spending hard-earned money on what we hope is going to be an enjoyable holiday. And there were some comments around travelling from different sites being a bit of a faff. What I would say is only one of the sections is quite a way away, and honestly, it's a little bit run down. So we did go over just to make sure that we'd looked at everything that was on offer as part of our package. You could, of course, stay in that room and use all of the other facilities, or that section, should I say, but there wasn't much going on in that place itself. It looked like an odd kind of add-on, which was across the road to the beach, actually. So the area that we'd chosen was to not be right on top of the main entertainment, but be near to the facility. So we did get moved, and just to briefly describe that room, it was as you would expect. So when you walk through the door, there was a seating area where we could turn the beds into a bedroom for our daughter. There was plenty of storage via a sliding cabinet in there. There was a little TV for her. There was then a shared bathroom that had a decent size shower, which had very good water pressure and temperature. And beyond that, you could slide a door so that we could each have our privacy. The other side of that door would be a large double bed, some more storage for my partner and I's stuff, and then the balcony that we're currently stood on, which had a table and 4 chairs, and some lovely morning views. As you've probably spotted, there's a distinct lack of reserved sunbeds, which was a welcome sight. We've been to places where people like their spot and they actually book it at ridiculously early times in the morning. With towels, you do obviously get towels for your shower and your bathroom, but you don't get a beach towel. That is rented effectively for €20, which is you will get back when you hand back your towel. There was also a safe in the room, which I believe was an extra cost. We very kindly gave that to us for free because when we moved, we'd originally able to put our stuff in the safe of the first room, and we weren't able to do so in the second. So they kindly sorted that out for us. In terms of the hotel, I suppose the key question is, would I recommend it? And the answer there is a yes. So it was clean. We were on an all-inclusive package that included alcoholic drinks. So there was something there for all the family. There was always some food on offer. So breakfast would be followed by snack bars being open, then a lunch serving, snack bars, and then tea. The bar areas were always well stocked, both with the alcohol and the people. So we never really had a problem with queuing or any of that kind of stuff. There was a self-service approach to soft drinks and water, and you could also grab ice creams as you wanted them across the site. One thing of note is other places we've stayed, there has been bottled water available because people can be a little bit funny about the water quality when they're visiting other countries. We didn't have that here, which actually in hindsight made sense because what they're trying to do is be as environmentally friendly as possible, and people, I've often seen it, will take a couple of sips of water, decide that it's too warm for them, and then just leave it to be collected and go and get another. So there were water taps dotted throughout the site where you could go and self-serve. Also slushy machines, which makes the kids and the big kids very happy. And in the restaurant areas, that extended to a draft lager and wines. Also, in the morning, hot drinks, although you could have those at any point of the day if you wanted. Lots of the menus and things like that were actually QR codes where you could download them. There were also 2 a la carte restaurants. So there was a 50s style diner and a bar and grill you could book on one of the evenings during the stay. We went to the 50s diner and it was really good food, burgers, hot dogs, as you'd expect. We've stayed at other places where they tend just to be the same food that you get with your buffet, but actually it was nice to have something a little bit different. So we're going to move on to a look around the pool that we saw from the balcony. So as you can see there are some swim-up rooms at the bottom. Those pools look deceptively shallow. They look more like paddling pools, but yes, we did see people swimming in them. What I would say is I'm conscious that it looks like everywhere's wet, but that's because the staff cleaned all of the areas, which included the pool, all the pools, on a daily basis. And this is captured early in the morning, so you're not going to be seeing full sunshine. But as I say, we did get kind of 26 through to 29 degrees. So some nice winter sunshine. The swim-up beds, I believe, were free, but the cabanas were an extra cost. So there was a QR code on there. We didn't look into how much they cost because there was plenty enough to do without actually renting those out. And as you can see, there's lots of beds. Some interesting design choices here because those day beds were in full shade pretty much all of the day. We've now moved on to the main pool area. So we've got beds and shades around the pool area. Next to the pool area itself, we had the salon bar, which is where most of the entertainment took place. So with this being towards the end of the season, it was kind of scaled down a bit, but there were always acts on, so that kind of ran on a cycle of variety shows that the reps would put on, or outside acts, which included Earth, Wind and Fire, a bit of disco, there was a Bruno Mars tribute act, and a magician during our stay. There's some nice bistro seating outside, and there was an area inside where it's a bit more quiet, where people would play cards and things like that of an evening before the main entertainment came on. So the entertainment kind of setup would be as you'd expect, is that there was some children's entertainment earlier on in the evening, and that would be quite busy. If you waited until that effectively cleared out, then you could usually get a seat before the main acts came on. The bar in there, as I say, queuing was never really an issue. You could get yourself a couple of drinks. The cocktail menus were QR codes, and they had quite a range on there, including some non-alcoholic cocktails for the children. Behind the main pool was a little splash area for the smaller children, and beyond that, in the distance there, was the adults-only area. So if you'd booked a suite and an adult-only package, then everything in there was included. If you hadn't, then you could use the infinity pool, but the day beds came at an additional cost. Onto the adult area. Again, it looks wet because it's all been washed. Those are washable beds. You can probably just see a food truck there pointing out in the background, which was where you could grab your snacks. There's a nice seated covered area, and then we can see our infinity pool. So the cabana beds at the background, as I say, were an additional cost if you weren't staying in an adult-only suite, but you could use the pools, and you could use that seat in there, the orange seating in the background. And what I would say is they did a good job of making it feel enclosed and a little bit more private. We did go in there at kind of peak time one day just to chill out and make sure we got that experience. And yeah, it was nice and relaxing, and it's comforting to know that your children are in an effectively an enclosed resort, so you know that they can have a bit of freedom to roam around the pools. There is a lifeguard service. I think that goes from, I want to say 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. Sorry, 5 p.m. And then they ask everybody to get out of the pools. But that's usually when you would be getting ready for your evening meal. Going back to the set out of the complex as a whole, it was split into 4 sections. So we are now in the second section. So this is just across the road. There's effectively almost like a mini roundabout outside the main reception building. Some of the comments have said that it's a bit of a faff to walk from A to B, but 3 of the sections are literally minutes apart, even if you've got smaller children, although my daughter is 14. As you can see, there's a snack bar there, and this would be the main entertainment area. This wasn't actually used during our stay. Bit odd actually, because there's not much seating around that area. So other places we've stayed, there's almost like an amphitheatre kind of layout. So you could imagine that getting quite busy if there was a full-on show on. The salon, as I say, is where most things happen of an evening, and seemed better equipped to deliver that really. So this was the section that we were put in by mistake. It was still lovely, but it wasn't what we booked. And we were tucked in the distance there, so we didn't actually have a view from the window at all. The only section that looked further away was the 4th section, which was kind of up a hill and completely detached. Talking about the mini roundabout, I just wanted to give you a real kind of view of what that looked like. So you're not kind of traipsing with your children across lots of busy roads. The spa that we see there is directly across the road from the main reception. The area that we're looking across to there is the one that we just looked at with the smaller pool and the main entertainment venue, and then this is the children's area. So we'll start with the indoor splash area. So should the weather not be great, or your children, your toddlers have had too much fun, well then they can run riot in here. And there's a button on the wall to activate all the water features, which is a nice little touch. This area was very child focused, but there were also some water slides, which yes, I did have a go on. So up through the main entrance area, there's a little splash pool again for the younger kids, which had some shade over there just to keep them a little bit protected. You can probably just about make out the huge bucket fountain in the background there. Again, although this is early, not a single booked sunbed in sight. He says there's one there. But again, more than ample sunbeds. I know it's not high season, but as I mentioned earlier in the video, it did coincide with the German school holidays, so it was fairly busy. A couple of bottlenecks at buffet time, but they managed that quite well in terms of when they were seating people. One of the odd things that I did note is that what we're looking at now is the sports bar, which is just off main reception. And as you can see, it's been furnished to look like a cross between an Irish bar and a walkabout. If you're not familiar with walkabout, it's basically a sports bar where they have lots of different screens and things. I went into here at various points during the day, and at no point did I see a single soul in here or anybody behind the bar. And the only real sour note was that there was an England match on whilst we were there, and we asked on a number of occasions if they could arrange for the channel to be changed. We waited for quite a while, and ultimately we're told that the channel can't be changed, which is odd. So it does seem like a waste of a space. I'm not suggesting that they should pander to two people out of a whole site to show an England game, but there was literally nothing else on, and actually it would have been a really nice atmosphere to experience that abroad. And there were other English people that we met, and you don't have to be English to watch an English football game. So yeah, just mention it because it felt like a bit of a lost opportunity there. So just to show where it's situated, there was a nice little atrium area here, forgive my bright orange shorts there, with a little waterfall, and just across the way from that was the 50s diner, and then what we're looking at now straight ahead is that salon bar. So everything's in pretty close proximity around the whole site. So in the areas surrounding the hotel and the complex itself, you've got essentially two beaches, which are coves, the nearest one being just a short walk from the main complex itself, which I'm going to walk in real time. Whilst I do that, I'm going to talk about some of the things that we did outside of the resort and kind of what's in the area as a whole. So locations-wise, we were 10-minute taxi ride away from Porto Cristo, which is a lovely little kind of seaside town, I suppose, and is where Rafa Nadal has his huge catamaran and a mansion up on the hillside there. And there's lots of pictures of Rafa dotted around the island because it's his home island, and it looks like he's done quite a lot to kind of reinvest, which is nice to see. There's lots of pictures of him dotted around the island with different restaurant owners and shop owners. What I would say is, I'm sorry for this TUI because we did book our holiday through you, is that if you want to do the Caves of Drac excursion, you can save quite a lot of money by booking it directly. So we spoke to the rep. They wanted €58 per person to go and do Caves of Drac experience. Now, if we were getting shipped across an island and it involved coach hire, I could kind of understand it, but we were literally a €7 taxi ride away from the attraction. We booked directly for, I think, €17 per person, and we actually shared a cab with a nice German guy and his son that were also looking to get there. I went and did the Caves of Drac. That experience, I do have a couple of pictures of, a couple of videos, but I couldn't film the underwater concert. So just to clarify, the underwater concert isn't somebody playing trombone underwater, because that would be terrible. It was actually a 4-piece orchestra getting boated around a lake. So there's one of, I believe, Europe's largest underground lakes in the Caves of Drac. So you can walk round and then you can be boated across the lake, which is actually really special. It's quite magical. Porto Cristo itself, I'll just tag a little bit of a video onto the end of this just so you can get a rough feel. But it had the usual shops that you would expect for your treasures, your holiday treasures, your fridge magnets and little things like that. And it's actually a nice place to walk around. And there's separate to the main area, there was also a little harbour that was lined with restaurants. And actually, price-wise, wasn't overly expensive. I don't know whether that's because we're at the end of the season, but yeah, we were quite happy to have a large bowl of ice cream and sit out in the sun. In terms of the different complexes, I showed you how close 3 of the complexes were to each other. We have walked down to the beach in real time because this restaurant is just a stone's throw, and by a stone's throw, I really do mean that. So we're looking at 4 or 5 minute walk to the beach. The 4th area we did look at, to be honest, there was not an awful lot there. Personally, I wouldn't book that section, but I can't comment on the rooms because we didn't stay there. I would say that it is kind of isolated from the other parts of the resort. So unless there's a significant cost saving, personally, I wouldn't book that area myself. Beach, as with the pools around the complex, do have a lifeguard, which I think operate till 5 p.m. The cove itself looked like it had some holiday lets. We had this lovely restaurant as well. So this is not owned by the hotel. So the all-inclusive doesn't extend to this. This is an independently run restaurant. And the sun lounges also came at an extra cost. I can't recall exactly how much that was. But again, I believe it's a day rate. I want to say it's €15. Which sounds like a lot if you're going to spend an hour soaking up the sun. If you're going to go and set up your stall for the day and you don't want to spend half of it finding sand in places that you didn't think it would get, then it's probably a good option. Also, having a bit of a break and sitting on this terrace is a nice option, which we enjoyed. We had an ice cream and a lager and sat and looked out to sea. Further down the beach, which I didn't pick up in this video, is also a small cafe which is just tucked away underneath. So I didn't come down to have a look at this at night. I imagine it was really picturesque. If it's any indication, all of the tables inside of the restaurant were reserved. So looked like it's popular. So there's the sea. We've got a lovely windbreak type window there, which we used to great effect to frame our selfies that we took during our holiday. So there we are, there's the beach. That's 5 minutes away. There was another cove around another inlet, but we didn't go and explore that one, so I couldn't really comment, but I imagine it would have been pretty similar. So that just about sums it up. Hopefully that has been helpful to understand what the resort has to offer and what's around the area and some of the other things that have been surrounding Majorca about protests and tourists not being welcome, etc., etc. Any issues that we had were resolved pretty quickly. Obviously, it'd be better not to have them. But everybody was friendly and helpful throughout the resort. The food quality, I know I've not touched upon that or done a video of filming every bit of food that was there, but it's fairly varied and well cooked. And there were some kind of live cooking stations at every mealtime where there would be something on offer. Dessert menu not so extensive as we've seen at other resorts. but I couldn't really fault it. So all in all, as I said earlier, I would recommend a stay at the Insotel Resort in Cala Mandia. And I will finish my video, as promised, with a quick little look around of the lovely harbour of Porto Cristo. If you've made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you very much for watching, and I do hope it's helpful when you're considering how you're going to spend your hard-earned cash to get some winter or even summer sun. But overall, I was very impressed.